Well, hello everybody. Val Rainbow back again. Oops, I look a bit lopsided. Sorry folks. I'm just going to give it a little tweak. It doesn't look quite right. Okay. I hope you can stand seeing me that close, up close and personal. Well anyway, hello everybody. Here I am again. So for those of you who have just joined me for the first time, my name is Val Rainbow and I'm from Mandala Arts. So today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the decorative items that I make, some of which are made from recycled materials, and I'm going to talk a little bit about the processes involved in making them. For those of you who know me or have watched some of my previous videos, you'll know that I love trying new things. So although the things I have to show you today are sort of current projects, there's always something new happening. You can see things behind me that I've been making. My very most recent ones are the this garland. I don't think you can see all the colours, unfortunately. It's a rainbow star garland. That's a new thing I've just started doing, so there will be more of those as time goes on. And one of the things that I was literally doing this afternoon to try and get them finished is the chickens that I make. You might be able to see them behind me on this side. Now, I started making them actually before Easter this year, but they proved to be so popular I've had to keep making more and more, and I've just had another request. So I thought I'd probably want to show them to you. So these are a few of them behind me, but I'll be talking more about those in a moment as well. I don't know about you, but it's feeling a bit autumnal, isn't it? A little bit sort of darker and damper and cooler. So inevitably we're starting to think about autumn. And as a crafter, I have to think ahead. So I'm thinking towards sort of dark nights and inevitably Christmas. Oh dear. Those who know me will think that's hilarious because they know I'm usually the one who says don't use the C word. But now I am doing a lot of crafting and hoping to sell some of my items between now and Christmas. We have to think ahead. And certainly for the sort of things that I make, they do take time. So I won't be doing it quite this week, but in a few weeks' time I will be talking about the Christmas items that I've made. But with a view to talking about these dark and dreary nights, I thought it might cheer you up to see some of the lights that I've been making. If you looked at my videos from a few weeks back when I was talking about recycled items, you may well have seen me talking about my lights. But anyway, hey ho, here we go again. So I've got some lights here to show you. It's partly an idea. As I've said loads of times before, I love going on YouTube and also on Pinterest, but YouTube is my main source of inspiration, ideas. And usually when I've got an idea, I might go off and see if anyone else has done it, see if what they've done, how they've done it. I might look at quite a few videos before I finally make my decision about how I'm going to do it. But there's still also a certain amount of experimentation goes on before I'm happy with the final product. So I started thinking it would be great to use glass jars and bottles that you happen to have around the house as lights. Why wouldn't you, of course? Now I go to a certain shop where they sell very big candles, which we love. And at the end of when you finish with your candle, you have a fantastic jar. And I thought they're too good to throw away. So I started working on these. So these are actually a big chunky jar with a really good sized candle in. Then when I've finished with the candle, I wash out the jar, and it's even got a nice shiny lid on it as well. So I thought I'm going to have a go and see if I can do something with crochet. And it just happened that someone shared at the time on Facebook some jars with crochet covers. So I thought I'd have a go. So this is one of my earlier attempts. So you might, I don't know whether you can see that, but it's made entirely from wool. So that's mostly acrylic wool with a little bit of ordinary wool inside it. And although I have made some that have been solid colour, I did like the idea of experimenting with different colours and doing stripes. So I started with a basic circle. For those of you who crochet will know what I'm talking about. And then with my jar next to me, I started crocheting round as if I was making a little basket. And I kept popping in the jar every now and then and seeing how it worked up around the sides. The thing I found with the acrylic wool is it's great because it stretches slightly. But when I put a light inside it, it just gave a slightly fuzzy effect. I don't know whether you can see that. And it was the fibres basically give it a soften effect, which, you know, is perfectly fine, but I wanted something a little crisper. So then I decided I was going to use cotton yarn. So another thing what we seem to have a lot at it in our in our house are jars, glass jars. So I decided to have a go at using cotton yarn on glass jars. So here we go with one of my attempts at a jar with cotton yarn. So I don't know whether you can see that, but I think that's quite a lot clearer, a bit crisper, isn't it? There's quite a lot of colour in that one, and I've also put a little flower on top. I'm not really sure what was in this jar, to be honest, but it's a handy sized jar and you can make a lovely light out of it. So I've repeated that idea with different jars of different sizes. Another one that's, again, I'm not even quite sure what was in there. This one is, this is cotton yarn, although there's a bit of acrylic in there as well. But you can see what an interesting effect it has. Now, for those of you who crochet, obviously you need to make sure your stitches have holes in them. So you want your gappy, holey types of stitches. And you can experiment as well. You don't have to do exact stitches. I've kind of invented things and adapted them and done variations. And also the colours you use, you'll see them to a certain extent when the light shines through them. Now the lights I've used, I don't know whether you can see that. They're actually called rice lights, and they're little teeny weeny fairy lights which you can buy easily on eBay and on the internet, and then I've just stuck them to the lid. And they're operated by battery. Now I think you can get solar ones, so you might want to do that. Although I don't know how long these would survive out of doors. Being cotton yarn, they would survive for a while, but given our British winters, I don't know how they'd fare long term. Cotton would eventually rot and break down, so if it was in a protected place, I think they would last a while, but not if they're exposed and out in the open. And one other thing to mention is that I found that sometimes the design, or the casing if you like, would slide down. So one of my tips is I put a little bit of double-sided sticky tape on the top just to hold it all in place. So I've got a couple more of those to show you, just to show you some variations. That's another one. I don't know whether you recognise that, but that's a Hellmann's mayonnaise jar. I do like my Hellmann's. So that's another one, again, with a sort of theme of colours, if you like, and that's cotton yarn again as well. These are all for sale if you're interested. I'm sorry, I can't remember the prices, but I think they range from about £3.50 up, for the very smallest, up to about £7. I've also got some bottles. I've noticed other people have started putting fairy lights in bottles on market stalls, but I decided to go one step further, and I thought I would crochet around them as well. So this is one of my favourites because the fairy lights are all different colours, and I've gone for a rather funky bright set of yarn. I love doing this one with all these rainbow colours, and I put a little tie around the top, and again the same idea, a little bit of sticky tape around the top. And in this case you've got a cork, and the cork is where the fairy lights are, if you can see that. So they're specially designed, so you can buy them easily yourself, and then you just pop them in the top of your bottle. So if you wanted to theme it, for example, for a wedding maybe, I did a white one. So those could look really nice on a table display for a wedding. And for those of you who perhaps haven't realised my favourite colour is purple, I of course had to do a purple one. So I haven't had a chance to use these very much yet because they've been mostly made in the last sort of 6-8 months. So yeah, I think they set really nice atmosphere. A friend of mine had a birthday back in April, and she had them dotted all around the house, some of mine anyway, and it did create a nice atmosphere, even though I set myself. So those are different types of bottles with fairy lights and the crochet covers. Those are all for sale. Just contact me on Facebook Messenger if you're interested in knowing about those. So those are some of the recycled items. So while I'm on a theme of recycle, we may as well have a look at some of the other things I have in front of me. Now, something that we all have, no doubt, are CDs, or maybe you've chucked yours away, but I still had quite a lot, and I thought, what can I do with them? But I must confess that I've always been kind of fascinated. I'm a bit of a magpie and I love anything that's a bit sparkly or shiny. So I've been fascinated by the idea of doing something with CDs with the shiny side. Now, I've seen fantastic mosaics and all sorts of stuff done with CDs. But as I love my crochet, I thought I'd have a go at doing something with crochet and CDs. So I came up with these. Now, I have to say that the idea isn't entirely mine. I went on YouTube to see what sort of ideas there were for making things with CDs, and this was my favourite. So I've made quite a few of these. I don't know if you can see them. So again, I adapted the idea and worked on it with cotton yarn. Again, for the same reasons I mentioned earlier, the cotton yarn just gives a nice crisp sort of finish to the item. So what I've done is I've taken 2 CDs, put the printed side together, stuck them together, and leaving the hole in the middle, I've used glass pebbles, stuck them in the middle. I don't know whether you can see that, and done on both sides. And then I've crocheted a doily. So you crochet 2 identical doilies, then you crochet the edges together 2/3 of the way around, pop your double-sided CD into it, finish it off, and then this, I don't know whether you can see, is a little bit stretchy, and I don't know whether you can guess what that is, but that is another piece of recycled material, and that are the rings that go around the top of plastic bottles. So you know when you get your plastic bottle, unscrew the top, and it breaks the seal, and you end up with a ring on the bottom side of the bottle where the top is, and those are often quite dangerous apparently to wildlife, so they advise you to take them off and cut them through. And I thought, well, actually I could make use of those. I can crochet around them, so here we go. So I also added a few beads on the bottom, and there you go, a mandala. And I have to say I'm pretty pleased with those as well. I've got quite a lot of them, I have to say, so I'll just show you a couple more, because again I have got quite a lot of them for sale. So if you're interested, go and have a look on my Mandala Arts Mandala Arts Facebook page, and you'll see most of the designs I've got on display. So there's another one, a couple more. So I must admit, when they catch the light, it's quite good. I've got a couple hung outside just as an experiment to see how they survive through the winter. So I'll give you an update in the spring. So that's one of my CD designs, they're mandalas. And also, as regards CDs, I've been experimenting with other ideas as well. So one of my very first ideas, now I did do this last year, but I've kind of refined it as well, was to turn CDs into drinks mats. Well, they kind of lend themselves, don't they, to putting your drinks on. So these were some of my first attempts. So as you might be able to see, I've literally, you can see it's a CD, but what I did is I covered the CD, I'm not even sure which side, I don't think it matters really, with hot glue. So I drew my design freehand, but of course you could use a stencil if you wanted to mark it out beforehand with felt pen or Sharpies, then use your glue gun. The glue gun gives it a nice texture, but not so chunky that you couldn't put a mug on it, because obviously you don't want your mug tipping over. So draw my design on, paint it with acrylic paint, and then to highlight it I put a few other colours on, but also put some metallic paint on it to just give it a little bit of an edge. And then to finish it off, I put felt on the other side. And that means it doesn't slide around too much. Plus the hot glue surface gives it a slightly tacky edge so that your mug won't slide around. So those are some of my first attempts, that one there and that one there. And you can see that these have all got the hole in the centre, because I hadn't quite decided how I was going to solve that problem. So you can see there was quite a few of those. And then I decided to have another go this year. And this time I thought I'm going to try and fill the holes in, because I wasn't entirely happy with the hole. So what I did this time round is I took the CD and I stuck a little bit of paper in the centre, or a little bit of cardboard in the hole, and then I drew my glue pattern over it. So you might be able to see from that. I've sort of followed the centre pattern, if you like, and I was trying to aim for a sort of mandala type design. So then again I drew my design around, same as before really, and then I used at least one layer of acrylic paint, I think possibly two. So if you put a single layer of paint on, it's going to look quite matte, so I generally put more than one colour together just to give it a bit of depth and texture. And then I dab on some metallic paint, usually using my fingers so that you can rub it in rather than have too much. But in this case as well, I also found I had some metallic polish. It's usually used on furniture, renovating furniture, and it's like a gilding polish. And I started putting that on as well, and I have to say I think that's given it an extra little bit of va-va-voom. And I also finished them off with, some of them with PVA glue and some with Mod Podge, which is very similar. And of course back to the old felt backing as well. So I was really quite pleased with how those came out. So I've got a number of those. That's another one, if you can see that. Another one there. So yeah. So that's something that you could have a go at. Easy to do, but it does take time because you have got the different layers. You've got to kind of go through a process with those. So moving on from that, I decided, as I was on a bit of a mandala kind of thing, that I would go a bit further and try something else with the CDs as well. So then I happened on just taking that idea of the drinks mats, but instead of making them single-sided, I decided to make them double-sided. So I don't know whether you're going to be able to see this because of the it's quite dark on one side, but now I've made those. So the same idea as previously with the drinks mats, but I've made them double-sided, and I've also stuck, taken the idea that I made with the crocheted mandalas and put a glass bead in the centre. Another friend said to me, oh, with the previous ones it looks like you've made something with an eye in the middle, and I thought, oh yeah, I like that idea, thank you. So hence this one has an eye in the middle. All done with hot glue, and the same process with acrylic paint and gilding polish. But the little jewels that you see are also made out of hot glue. I know, they're amazing, aren't they? And I don't take any credit for these. I have found it again on YouTube. But they do look rather fabulous. As I mentioned before, I think there's something about the hot glue jewels that just makes me think of sort of medieval jewellery somehow. Because in the past they weren't able to cut stones quite as accurately as we can now, so they weren't very faceted, so they tended to be tumbled and polished but cut very little. So anything that looks like a boiled sweet is probably quite an old stone. So again, here's another one, another of those eyes I was talking about. So again, a bit of a colour scheme going on, but I had some slightly different back to it, so a flower back and an eye on the front. So I've done a number of those. The idea is that you can hang them in your room, or maybe if you've got conservatory or a covered patio, or you want to hang them in a window because obviously the light will come through the jewels. So maybe show you one more and then we will move on to something else. So one more of these. This one's got a different colour back and front. So again, another eye. With some hot glue jewels on it, glass pebble in the centre and a different design on the back. So I had a lot of fun with those, but they took a long time. So, you know, you do a little bit one day, come back the next day, do a bit more and so on. So they took quite a while, but I'm pretty pleased with the results of those. So I think that's the end of my CD saga. So I'm going to move on to a couple more things. As you'll probably realise from the name of my company, Mandala Arts, I do like mandalas. I'm quite interested in the spiritual significance of them. And one of my friends was talking, who runs meditation classes, was talking about whether I could make things that would enhance people's sort of yoga space or meditation space. So that's partly why I started making mandalas, the ones I've shown you. But another idea I had, I thought I'd like to make some a little bit bigger. So I started making mandalas on a slightly bigger scale using coat hangers. So I don't know whether you can see them behind me or to the side. I've got a couple there, a big one behind me too. That one's more of a dream catcher because it's got a few feathers and beads on it. But the mandalas I started with, and I'm going to bring this one up to show you, as I've mentioned before, I just love playing with colour. So this is one of the first ones I had a go at. Again, it's quite a holy sort of design, deliberately so, not too solid. So you could get a little bit of light through it. So if you wanted to hang it in a window, you'd get the benefit of the colours. But I took an old wire coat hanger, bent it into a circular shape, and again I created a doily with crochet, with different colours, and then attached it to the frame. And then I made some fringing to complement that. So I've made a number of these. I'm going to carry on working on them, but that's one of them. And as I said, you can see one behind me and one to one side. I've got about 4 or 5 left. So again, if you're interested in those, just get in touch with me on my Facebook page or through Messenger. So, more mandalas. So, a couple more things to show you, and then that's probably it for the evening. So it's lovely to see a few of you joining me. I'm sorry I'm a bit too far away from the camera to be able to see who you are, but thank you so much for coming to join me. I really appreciate it. Otherwise I feel like I'm talking to myself. Anyway, a couple more things to show you. One of the last things I'm going to show you, which is purely decorative really, is I've been making some garlands, from flower garlands. You might be able to see them behind me, hanging down. Now, we still drink milk, and one of the things that is so wasteful and gets thrown away an awful lot are the milk cartons and the bottle tops. So I'm sure you will all be familiar with these. These are the tops of plastic bottles or milk cartons. Now we have a lot of this particular one because we like to drink whole milk. And for ages I've been thinking, what on earth can I do with these? I really want to recycle them. So, good old YouTube came up with the answer. I went on there and found quite a few ideas, and in the end I plumped for one particular idea. And what I've done is I have crocheted flowers around the bottle tops and turned them into garlands. So, as you might be able to see, probably better on this one than the other one. All you do is you take your bottle top, and these are quite a nice thin plastic, so they're easy to work with. And then I've made a hole, you might be able to see that, using a glue gun. So you have to be a bit careful not to get glue all over it, but the glue gun is quite hot, so you just gently poke it through in the centre and you get a hole. And then you can crochet through the hole. Obviously you could make a bigger hole if you wanted to, if you had something suitable, but obviously you have to be a little bit careful because you're working with toxic fumes and materials and also hot metal. So obviously you'd have to be a little bit careful about what you use. But I decided the hot glue gun was a good sized hole. So basically then I came up with the idea of these. So I don't know whether you can see them. Basically I have crocheted around the hole. That's my first layer, was all the way around the hole, doing like a single crochet for those of you who know anything about crochet. And then I went back and I crocheted a border. So it has like the appearance of a flower. But I still had a little hole in the centre. So in this particular instance I've stuck a jewel on the outside. So as you can see, there's lots of variations. I've done different stitches to get petal effects, as you can see. Different colour combinations as well. And then I've strung them all together. So I was really pleased that I was able to use bottle tops. I've also stuck buttons on them too. They're not all jewel ones. So you could... sorry, buttons. Did I say bottle tops? Anyway, so I've stuck buttons on them, and those have obviously been sewn on. So some of the garlands have jewels, some of them have buttons. You might find something else that you'd like to put in the middle. Pom-poms, make little pom-poms maybe, or sequins perhaps, if you feel like having a go yourself. And I decided to finish them off with a little tassel, a little coloured tassel. So these are for sale as well, if you're interested. They come in a variety of colours. I think they're £10 a strand, and you get six flowers on a strand. So that was another recycling idea, and I was quite pleased with myself, I have to admit. Okay, the last thing, but not the least I hope, are the chickens. So I was talking about the chickens earlier on. Again, I think I came across the idea entirely by accident, and I happened to find a video on YouTube, and it was by a South American lady. Now, I couldn't understand what she was saying because it was all in Spanish, but because I've had a bit of experience with doing different stitches, I thought, if I hang on and keep looking at this and rewinding it, maybe I can work out what she's doing. And I eventually managed to work it out, and I thought I'd have a go myself. So I had a go at making these chickens, and this is what I came up with. These are the results of my experiments, and with a little bit of help from this lady on YouTube. So very bright, very vivid. I think I may have adapted the design slightly. She put googly eyes on hers, I've put buttons on mine. I have seen variations where people have sewn feathers on them as well. I quite like just the crochet really. I'm a bit of a purist, so I prefer that. And there's an infinite number of variations and colour schemes you can use for this. I've made them in different sizes. That's one of the medium-sized ones, I think, and I've got a smaller one here. So the only difficulty I've had is finding small enough buttons for the eyes, because you need them to match or to look eye-like, if you like. You have to have 2 holes. So again, you can see the variations in colour. You might be able to see the ones behind me there. So basically, to make this, I have been asked for the pattern, so I will eventually get round to doing it. Basically, you're creating a circle. So you create a circular doily, and you do every row is a different colour. So when you're holding it flat out, it's just concentric circles of different colours. So depending on the size of the chicken, I might do 5 or 6 or 7. Then what I do is fold the circle in half, so then you've got this pasty shape, like a Cornish pasty. And then I crochet a border around the pasty, but leaving a hole at one end so you can stuff it. I've used fire retardant pillow stuffing, and then you seal it up basically, and then you've got your little pasty. So then you start adding things to it. So you add the comb and the crop, and a little bit of yellow wool for the beak, and I often use variegated wool for a tail. Then I put orange or yellow legs and eyes made out of buttons. I'll get that a little bit closer so you can see that. And then I finally put a little crocheted cord on it so you can hang it up. So again, you can buy those from me if you go onto my Facebook page and leave me a message. The latest batch that you see behind you are the ones I've just shown you, are the new colours. So the ones you'll see on Facebook are just for examples. So if you've got any particular colours you like, just get in touch with me. Now, I did say that was my last thing, but I have realised I have missed something out. So this is finally the last thing. Because I usually have a stall. Obviously in the last 6 months I haven't managed to do that very much, but it's always useful to have little items to sell. Again, I don't really know why. I think I was just coasting along through YouTube and I happened to see these, and these are key rings in the shape of owls. So I don't know whether you can see those, but I just loved the colours and the beaks and a kind of really simple shape. I do love granny squares. If any of you crochet that are watching, you'll know what I mean by a granny square. And I just loved the fact that this had this kind of granny square sort of feel to it. So I thought I'd have a go. And again, I tried a few different designs. There's quite a few YouTube videos if you want to have a go yourself. Again, stuffed with something fire retardant. Little felt beak on the front, and then I bought some keyring attachments. So I've made a number of those in different colourways. So again, one of the things I just love is working with colour and texture. So they all look different. Even if I tried to make them look the same, I couldn't. I don't know why, but I'm just incapable of making them look the same. So again, another little one and another one. Oh, I have loads of these. So with Christmas coming, you might want a few little stocking filler presents. I think they start from about $3.50 these. And now finally, I decided to take the idea of the owl a bit further, and I thought, well, those are a bit chunky, but you could have these sweet little dinky ones to hang on handbags. So what do you reckon, folks? So there we go, a miniature version which you can put on a bag. You could use it as a keyring, but obviously you've got all these beads here, so that might get a bit tangled up, but absolutely fine. You could use it for that. Hang it in your over your dashboard in your car. There's all sorts of things you could do with it, but they are called bag charms. So there you go. That's my final thing for today. So thank you very much for joining me. It's been brilliant to have you with me. I will be back again next week. Given that the nights are drawing in and we're now into September, I think I'm going to start talking about hats and scarves and gloves and stuff like that. So I hope you'll join me next week at the same time on a Wednesday evening. So thank you very much for joining me, and I look forward to talking to you next week. Bye. Thank you, Sue. Lovely to hear from you.